economic engagement about how to align academic interests, the USC business interests, commercial partners, and government folks. Did I describe it correctly, or at least close enough? All right, well, I'm going to let you take it away from there and let us know about that. There will be time for questions if folks are interested in their own personal SBIR, STTIR. There you see.
We always work on spelling.
There you go.
Well, thank you for having me today. And, you know, I'm going to apologize in advance. I'm breaking every PowerPoint rule known to man. My slides are very busy, but a lot of my slides are for reference. So a lot of them, this will be the reference deck. So a lot of these, I'll maybe say like one sentence and then it'll be moved on. I think it's important to talk a little bit. I'm with the Office of Economic Engagement, so I want to talk a little bit and do a little bit of a plug for what we're all about, because a lot of people at university don't understand how our office works with everything else that's going on and how we tie everything together. So, and if anybody has any questions, just poke me during the talk, and then I'm gonna try to go. I'll try to leave about 15 minutes for questions, and as always, you can contact me later. And I'm really not. The good news is I'm smart enough today, or I'm smart enough in my management style that I'm actually not the go-to guy for SBIR anymore. I've hired somebody else to do that, but absolutely, this PowerPoint today and what I'm going to talk about is actually a result of multiple years of work since I've been here, trying to create and the real focus of what I'm going to talk about is we're trying to create a process that you guys can actually use and you can make it through. And our goal really is to help you walk with you every step of the way, whatever you might need. Our goal. So the Office of Economic Engagement really ties together 4 major elements. Number 1, business solutions, technology commercialization. Number 2, the research district, Innovista, that we keep hearing about. That's part of what we do as well. And then lastly, entrepreneurship and startups. And so from your standpoint, as faculty, staff, whatever, think about the process from idea to marketplace. And what we're really trying to do with our office is try to bridge all that gap. So we cover a lot of territory, from people walking in the door with an idea or research that has a good outcome, to getting patents and things like that, all the way to helping them form companies and doing startups, and then connecting those startups with industry. So our goal is to kind of be the one-stop shop. If we talk about business solutions first, I've kind of already given my plug. The big problem with people at the university, one of the biggest problems with the university and what we try to do, is that we got 2 problems. People don't know how to buy what we have, and we don't know how to sell what we've got. Okay, so one of the things that we have people coming to the university all the time, alumni, former students, people from South Carolina, people that grew up here, that love this place, that love Columbia, and they want to come back to the university and they want to do business with us. And they end up, and they have no idea who to call. So we said, look, we're going to be the one. We'll stand in the gap, and we'll be the single point of contact to connect business to resources within the university. We're not development. Development can't do what we do. Development is important in the university, but development doesn't have the knowledge of where all the connectivity in the university is and all the research assets. So development usually brings people to us to help form a meaningful relationship, and that's really we stepped in to play that role because nobody was doing it. And people would literally get passed around deans and chairs and faculty and staff members and the president, and everybody calls the president. I love it. Like, everybody calls President Pastis, and I'm always like, do you think the president has time to connect everybody who calls him with it? He has no time. Well, because he's doing president stuff. He's out there talking. He's talking about how great the university is. He's advocating for us. And I'm going to be honest with you, that's what you want him to be doing. He's very good at that. You don't want him. He does not need to be in the weeds. That's what we do. So we do a lot of industry. One of our main focuses in the business solutions group is to connect our internal assets with existing businesses. So we actually did a partnership with IBM about a year ago, and then we did one with Boeing in August of last year, about a $5 million deal where we basically facilitated that relationship with the College of Engineering that led to about 20-something projects with $5 million of initial funding. And we're there with Boeing. We're continuing to work that relationship with Boeing and continuing to sell into that to grow that from $5 million to $25 million. Do our researchers have time to sell and manage that relationship? Absolutely not. They get paid to do research, and they want to do research. So they're more than happy to let us help facilitate and manage that relationship. So that's kind of our business solutions side. For tech commercialization, this is where I started at the university. Basically what we do is when faculty get funded by the federal government or do research and invent stuff, the Bayh-Dole Act gives us the university, the right to take title to that research. And so we can file patents. And then a part of my job is taking those patents and that patent portfolio and finding people to license that, to get that out into the marketplace. And a lot of that, we love doing it with Pfizer and Boeing and all that, but a lot of our stuff is super early stage. So we need to typically we license to a lot of startup companies. We help faculty create startup companies. And then the SBIR and STTR grants are things that we use to get that farther down the road. A goal in our office is to get every startup that we have that's a faculty-led startup or a university technology startup. Our goal is to help them get $1 million of funding to get them down the road so they can prove the concept, get a prototype made, and then and I tell people, you're way more attractive to angels and venture capitalists who we also work with if you can go in there and say, look, I got $1 million of non-dilutive funding from the federal government, and when I got this SBIR, I've got the federal government's endorsement that they believe this technology is worth funding. That's a much better story than walking in and slamming your patent down on the table and saying, I got a patent, give me money. We work with, so we handle a lot of that and facilitate a lot of that process in our office. I'm proud to say in 2014, 2015, we had way over $3 million, but we helped faculty startups get about $3 million of SBIR awards. So what we're doing is working, and we're seeing faculty like Dr. Hebert upstairs. We got him a $1.7 million fast track grant, which I think might be the worst thing we've ever done because he's turned into an absolute monster. But that's a whole other story. And Exactly. So one of the things is sometimes faculty they get a taste of this and they just go crazy with it. But Dr. Hebert is a great example of somebody who had no idea what he was doing, couldn't spell STTR, and then or SBIR, and now he's got a grant and moving on to getting his research put into a product. God, that's a good question. I mean, I would say probably you're looking between 10 and 20%. There's probably a 10 and 20% hit rate on the grants themselves. We have had a good track record here because we provide you guys with resources to help you not make mistakes that a lot of first-time people do. But I'd say, it's really unpredictable because there's so many things at play as far as getting the technology into an SBIR and getting it into the marketplace. Because when you getting the SBIR is kind of the first phase, getting it to market is a totally different animal. And the problem, and what we do with a lot of entrepreneurs and faculty, is we really do a lot of education about, look, just because you got a patent and just because it's invented doesn't mean that it's going to make money or it's going to hit the market. Like, there's a whole other process we have that's not in the scientific realm, that's not in the grant realm, that is called where we do customer discovery. So we get people like you or somebody, we have some of our SBIRs, we actually set aside some of that funding to do what we call customer discovery. So people, for example, in our incubator, they come in with a concept and they're like, hey, I got an idea for a new water bottle. And typically the PhD and the scientist person and an IR one, we think, hey, if it's a new idea and I can patent it, everybody's going to buy it. My mom likes it, and just going to tell you, your mom's going to like everything you do, guys. Okay, so she's not a good data point, but we literally get people who have ideas, we help them get a patent, and then we get them to go out, we give them a script, and they go out and have to interview. So we have a program where we actually make people interview 100 potential customers, and what they literally do is they say, look, would you buy this? Or do you have this type of problem that would be solved with this solution? And a lot of times they take that feedback and they go, man, there's not a market for this. So like, I did a program funded by the National Science Foundation called I-Core, Innovation Core, and you get trained in that. And the whole model of I-Core is you do 100 customer interviews. And so we did one with I did one with Dr. Jabari. I was his business mentor, and we did 100 interviews for a spinal fusion technology. And we found out that, you know what, the current spinal fusion technologies don't have enough problems. They actually work pretty good. And the people that have problems with the existing technologies, we would have the same problem with that. You also learn things like how people buy stuff. For example, we found out selling spinal technology. Who do you think makes if you've got to go get a spinal fusion? Who makes the decision about what technology to stick in your back? We thought the doctors did. We thought insurance did. We thought the patient did. Who makes the decisions at the hospitals on what products they're going to help the doctors can use? Procurement, the hospital purchasing committees. If you've got something that's not, and I'm not saying if you have a doctor that's got the will, he can push that product, but the first gatekeeper is the hospital purchasing committee in the hospital. Who knew, right? So like this is a perfect example of why getting grants and getting something to market is very different, because a lot of people, the process to get grants and the process you think scientifically to make something has nothing to do with the way the market buys and sells and values stuff. And I tell people, the market is weird. The market is here, Jim, you can come. Why don't you come over here and just take over? But the market is a funny place. I mean, the market. I've seen lots of good technologies that the market's not ready for, or the market doesn't like, or it wasn't pushed the right way, or it wasn't messaged the right way. And so I'll tell you, the landscape from patent to market is very dicey. It's very tricky. We like the I-Core approach and the customer discovery approach because it's more consistent with how the market really works versus, when I started doing this, I helped a lot of people get patents, and then it was like, we'd get a patent, and then they'd be like, now what, Chad? And I'd be like, well, now we work on your $1 million PowerPoint to go find Daddy Warbucks, and you got to wear a really nice suit and be dazzling and wear the McDonald's headset, so you look dynamic like Tony Robbins, and do a lot of these and a lot of these, when you're talking, and maybe they'll give you $1 million. But what we find now, how many of you watch Shark Tank? If you watch Shark Tank, what's the first question they ask people when they come out? They ask them about IP, intellectual property. Do you have a patent? What's the next question they ask them? Yeah, what after that? What's their question? What's the last question they always ask where people just really get stumped? Sales. What are your sales? Why do they ask them that? Because sales are the true indicator of if somebody likes you. I watched two guys I'm totally digressing here, but it's very important, and it's the realm. This is the skull and crossbones talk that we have with faculty when they venture into this. Is that this is not a laboratory. This is not even grant land. This is when you're talking about getting something to market. It's the economy is very different. So I watched Shark Tank one time, and these guys show up, and they had this company called Tom and Chi, and they sold tomato soup and grilled cheese sandwiches, and they looked like a bunch of schmucks. I mean, they were all like, one guy had this terrible hair, it was all disheveled, and they were ugly, and they had like T-shirts with stains on them, and they went up there and they told the guys their concept, and one of the Mr. Wonderful or whatever said, hey, how about Tom and Crap, and they were making fun of them. And then they were like, what were your sales last year? And they were like 1.8 million. And when they said that, everybody, all the people were like, excuse me, here's a card, And the point was, what was valuable? They made the worst pitch I'd ever seen. But what was valuable is that they had proven that people liked it and people liked their product. They got investment. And so most scientists and inventors think, I'm going to dazzle them with my science and my inventiveness. And what investors really care about is money. And do you have a pathway to money? And so I know I digressed a lot, but I just think it's important because this is kind of the skull and crossbones talk we have with faculty. Because a lot of times we tell faculty, you don't want to be in this. You might want to be in the startup, and you want to be an advisor, and you want to be on the scientific and research side. But I'm going to tell you, on the market side and getting it to market and sales, you probably will need somebody different. And I'll tell you, that's the real challenge with Dr. Hebert's perfect example. he's way outside of his comfort zone with developing something for the marketplace, and those conversations are just painful because he's such an accomplished scientist. He's brought money in. He knows that area so well, but in this realm, he's kind of a fish out of water. So, which I think is actually pretty cool.
So, at the risk of digressing even more, if you are a scientist and you are interested in moving forward, how do you find your marketing counterpart?
Great question. So I'll keep moving, and I'll answer that. So, lastly, though, on the entrepreneurship and startup side, just the USC Columbia Technology Incubator is part of what we do. So at some point, if you get involved in SBIRs and you need an office for your business, or you need to have a business place to go, then the incubator's where we like to stick you. We also have, because you're with kindred spirits, you're with other people doing stuff. We've had companies come out of USC that have gone to the incubator and found that commercial partner or commercial partnership that's helped them get up to the marketplace. I won't bore you with the stats. The other part of our research district with with Innovista is we actually found faculty needed wet lab incubation space. They needed to have space that wasn't their lab space where they could actually have their company. So we actually wrote a grant I got $1 million and had $1 million match from USC and built Idea Lab. So this is Andrew Lee, who's with a company called iMix. They're in our Idea Labs. They started out of Chin Wong's chemistry lab, and their sales are about $4 million a month, and they're running all of that out of Horizon One, out of Idea Labs, and they're killing it. And he's an I-Corps graduate, and so this is great space. Unfortunately, today it's all full. It'll probably be empty in about 6 months because these guys they're growing so fast they need to get out. But it's just an example I'm giving you guys of resources of how we tried to kind of supply resources for everybody in this process. So that's kind of our office. Jumping into SBIR and STTR. So what is it? SBIR stands for Small Business Innovation Research Program, and STTR stands for Small Business Technology Transfer Program. What it is that if you guys are all familiar with federal budgets, NIH, DoD, NSF, whatever. All those agencies do is they're mandated to set aside, for SBIRs, they're mandated to set aside 2.5% of their total budget to fund SBIR grants. And it's basically, that's money that has to go to small businesses. And a lot of times the federal RFPs or the federal calls they match, or they're synonymous, or they move in concert with the current mainline RFPs that are going out. So, for example, if NIH has a big focus this year on colon cancer, most likely there will be some RFPs for colon cancer for SBIRs as well. That being said, you have every ability with SBIRs and STTRs to go visit your program, your agency head, and talk to them about those ideas. And we encourage that. We got a plane that goes to Washington, and it goes up there for a reason. We encourage faculty to use it. We'll go up there with you. We'll help facilitate that with agency heads if you need to kind of pre-seed and vet ideas. SBIRs have 2.5% budget, so there's way more money for SBIRs. STTRs, 0.3%. And a big difference between SBIRs and STTRs is that SBIRs are really the money goes to the company. STTRs, it's a partnership. So typically STTRs are one where if you want the university and the company to kind of get the grant together or to be co-applicants. Money in the SBIRs can go to the universities, but it doesn't go to universities directly. So just to give you an idea, in 2015 the budget was roughly, and I'm going to tell you, I do not guarantee that any of these numbers are right to the exact penny, and I don't guarantee that my website links will work, although I've tried to fix them because they keep changing them on me. But I'll tell you, roughly speaking, ballpark, they're close. So, for example, FY 2015 was $2.4 billion. DoD is always about half of that. It's always about $1.2 billion. NIH $682 million. NASA $203. DOE $164. NSF $124. And these are agencies that have SBIR and STTR programs. Not all agencies have both. You'll see down here, USDA Agriculture, they have only SBIR. Homeland Security, only SBIR. And you get the point. That just gives you an idea of how the money's distributed. So, for example, in EPA, if you have a choice between going after an RFP that's similar between EPA and DOD, you got a lot better chance with DOD because they got way more cash. And those are just things to be aware of.
So do you pick them based on what you're doing, where your funding history is? How do you pick which agency?
It depends. Well, and so that's what we help you with, because sometimes you might have funding. For example, Dr. Hebert is a good example. I think he was getting NIH funding, and his SBIRs through NIDDK, which I don't think he's ever gotten funded out of NIDDK ever. And then so we've also got Dr. Matthews in chemical engineering. He went after NIH for his stuff, and then went to NSF, and then he tried 7 times and failed on a phase 1, but he got it. And really, the big thing for him is now he's with the allergy. He's with like the National Allergy, whoever they are, and he had to go find them. And that's actually how he started getting hits, is he found the right agency. So, and I'm going to tell you, you don't always get it right the first time, or 7, but if you keep trying. And that's what we help you with too. We have people that know the agencies, they know what they're looking for, and so that's actually one of the big learning curves for faculty, is that sometimes the agency you're used to is not the same agency that's going to fund you, because they don't have the mandates don't cross over the right way. This is just information slide, skipping that because I just talked about it. So SBIR has 3 phases. Phase 1 is called a feasibility study. That can be $100,000 or plus for 6-month SBIR, or $150,000 for a 12-month STTR. And these numbers can change from the agency and the program. I know people who've gotten $500,000 phase 1s. I know people who've gotten $150,000 phase 1s. I do think the minimums are higher than 100 today for most agencies, but it really depends on the agency. And the agencies are all different. For example, DOD, they want a product. You're not going to get funded by DOD to go do basic research. DOD wants you to have a prototype that's probably technology readiness level 6. Now NSF, they might be okay with you kind of, doing a little bit, not blue sky, but a little bit more meandering or wandering. It really depends on the agency. And feasibility can mean different things for different technologies. It can mean different things for different agencies. And so one of the things that we do is give you kind of the ability to get a flavor of what the agencies are looking for. We have a guy, Tyler Tatum. So Tyler Tatum's really our go-to guy, and he's not even here. He's in Atlanta. I pay him on a contract basis, and Tyler has a mission to do 15 to 20 of these efforts, helping faculty a year. And he also supports the incubator as well. You probably work with Tyler. Yeah, Tyler's fantastic. And Tyler loves this stuff. He's crazy about it. Yeah, absolutely. And so and what Tyler did for Dr. Hebert, I think, was what really is really a good example of what we can do for people. And I'll talk more about that. But if you get a phase 1, anybody can go after. In order to apply for a phase 1, you have a phase 2. You have to have won a phase 1. The phase 2 is qualified as a full research R&D. This is where you're really supposed to be getting close to market. For SBIRs, that can be $1 million plus, or STTR $750,000 plus, and you have to get a phase 1. Those can, like I said, I've seen phase 1s go from $700,000 to $2.7 million. The budgets are not always set in stone, and that's just something where you have to know your program and know your manager and know what you can get away with. But the phase 2s are where they really push you to get something ready for market. And then phase 3, and I don't know why they do this, it's kind of their cruel joke, where they basically say phase 3 is, we don't fund you anymore, and you go find somebody else to do this. Now, to that point, I tell people, we have faculty here who have won multiple phase 1s for the same technology. We have, not at the same time, we also have faculty that have won multiple phase 2s for the same technology at different times. You can never have funding for the same technology from 2 different agencies at the same time. You get in a little bit of trouble for that. But there are faculty that have basically used SBIR funding to pump 5, 6, 7 million into their technology. So if you get a phase 1 and a phase 2, that doesn't mean you're out of the SBIR game for that technology. You can keep, if you find another RFP, you can keep going after it as long as it's keeping you on track. Part of the application is they want you to lay out, you have to have an IP plan, a commercialization plan, That's stuff that we have done and written up. We kind of just slot that over to you. If you have a patent with us, then that's great, and then we work with you to do licensing, because you don't have to have a license with us to apply, but once you get the award, we will work with you, and we do like low-cost options and things like that, so you can say, I've got this at least licensed. And then we let our licenses kind of move with the technology, because we'd rather have you guys pump that money into developing the technology than try to ding you for a bunch of license fees. And so, that's one of the things we try to do as well, is kind of create a licensing structure that moves with you guys, so you can keep doing SBIR and get funding. What are the differences between SBIR and STTR? Applicants are small businesses for SBIRs. Approximately $2 billion is awarded in SBIRs. STTRs, there's less agencies. The applicants are small businesses, but they need to be partnered with higher ed, a higher education institution, or federally funded R&D center. And approximately $250 million is awarded annually. A big difference here is you can have an SBIR application and not have to partner with a university or a faculty member. You can have your own patent and go after it, and you don't have to affiliate with the university. Most of our faculty do, because it's their research and they've done it in their labs and they have their IP here. But the SBIRs do not require you to do that. They like it if you do, but the STTRs absolutely do, because they required the university to be an applicant. Other differences, that this is the big one for faculty. The PI's primary employment has to be with the company. So, for example, if you're a faculty member and you want to go after an SBIR and it's your startup, we have faculty come to us and they're like, wait a minute, I got to be 51% employed by my company to get this SBIR to be the PI? And we say, yes, but what most faculty do is they have a postdoc in their lab that's on grant funding or soft money, and they will get the postdoc to basically become the 51% employee and the PI of the SBIR, and the faculty can maintain their nice, comfortable, 100% USC job, and they don't have to go into that territory. So I will say with SBIRs, that's the tension. So a lot of faculty, we say when they're looking for a PI, we go, a lot of times the best person for them to be the PI, because most faculty don't want to become a 49% USC employee. Most of the time it's a postdoc or somebody in their lab that can do that. And it's a real tension here, because your PI, SBIRs are reviewed by people like you. They're not reviewed by business people. They're starting to get more business people and commercial people involved in the review process, but for the most part, it's you guys. It's peer reviewed, and so they like the PI to be somebody that looks like them. So postdocs are nice because they've already got their PhD. They typically have some kind of publication record, so they can look quasi to fairly accomplished, depending on what their track record is. There's a risk. We did have one where the PI was not a PhD, and they got the phase 1, but when they went for the phase 2, they got dinged because the PI, the guy was the PI was not a PhD, and they dinged him on the phase 2 because he wasn't a PhD, because the reviewers were like, it was heretical in their eyes to award that to somebody who didn't have a PhD. So there's a little bit of that going on that you need to be aware of, and that's different with the agencies. It differs with certain agencies. I would say DoD is probably the most pragmatic. NSF and NIH or maybe can tend to be a little bit scholarly and get caught up in that stuff. I don't love it or hate it. It just is what it is. The STTR, the PI's primary employment, basically can be anywhere. Like the beauty of STTRs is that you can be the PI on an STTR, and you don't have to worry about adjusting employment with USC. You can be a partial employee of the STTR. Like I said, this STTRs require the partnership. Focus on the SBIRs is achieving commercial outcome. STTR, the focus is on moving technology from academic to small business for commercialization. The focus, I would say, is the same. I'd say STTRs are a little bit more forgiving with a slower or more methodical timeline out of the institution. Both at the end of the day, they want the technology to be hitting the marketplace. Big thing here is the biggest selling point of that is that it's a grant program. No repayments required, and there's no dilution of equity. So the beautiful thing is you can go to any venture capitalist and you have all your equity in your startup, your cap table's clean, and you've put money into the startup, it makes you way more attractive to angels or venture capitalists because they're not having to finance your mistakes, or they're not having to finance your research. That's the one thing. Venture capitalists and angels, they do not like funding research. They don't like funding product development. They like funding scale. And so that's why SBIRs are good, because they're willing to fund stuff that the commercial or that the private money is not willing to fund all the time. I mean, some venture capitalists and angels will fund development, but they really like it when you're making money and you just need more money to make a pile more money. The company retains ownership of all independently grant-generated intellectual property. That's another thing we work with the companies on, is we kind of talk to you about how to firewall off your IP versus the university's IP, and how you engage or how you spend money or how you can manage your activities to manage how IP flows between them. There's an IP play for us as well. Yeah, absolutely. Do we want to license and get royalty income from you guys? Absolutely. But at the same time, you guys have to get out there and you have to make money, do your business, and you have to keep your intellectual property, clean. So we have faculty that they'll start an SBIR company, they'll get money, and they actually start developing IP that's not ours. It's actually outside the university, and they got to do that a certain way. It provides technical and business validation of the project. What better endorsement of your technology to outside investors or the market to say, hey, the government invested in this on a commercial grant. And like I said, you can submit different applications to different agencies for similar work. You can't do those concurrently, but you can, if you have a platform technology. I've seen a lot of people with platform type technologies that basically can do a lot of different things. They'll actually take that platform technology and apply it to different agencies and markets and go after multiple grants. The biggest thing really, it'd be starting out for faculty and for anybody, is to define your role. Do you want to partner with if you prefer working in the direction of small business, you're not interested in managing startup or small business, because you do become a small business owner and you start running a small business and you have to deal with the stuff that small business people have to deal with, and it's a pain. It's not fun. And we help with that too. But if you're not interested in that, you just want to be a scientist putting out great stuff and working with somebody who's going to take it to the market, you may want to partner with somebody. And we do that a lot, where we have an existing small business or an entrepreneur or that marketing person, and we bring that person in and we pair them up with faculty. Or we find a faculty and we say, okay, they want to do it, but they're not really sure about their role. We go out and hit our Rolodex and try to find people in the community that might want to be partners. If you want to have total control of the research project and you're interested in managing your own startup, then maybe you'd want to start your own business to do this. So there's 8 steps here, and I've got like 8 minutes. So I'll run through it real quick. The first thing is just establish your team and identify your proposal topic. Then establish your company as an LLC, C Corp, S Corp. Most people set up LLCs because they're just quick and dirty, and they're not a lot of heavy lifting, and you don't have to get attorneys involved. When would you do an S Corp or a C Corp? I mean, I don't even know if I'd do an S Corp, but a lot of times we do help people set up C Corps when they know they're going to be getting funding from somebody else, or they've got a very short bridge to like angel or venture capital funding. If you're going to get angel or venture capital funding, you absolutely want to be a C Corp rather than an LLC. But if you're just going to if you're just going out there to get a grant and you just want to get started and get on the road, then LLC is perfectly fine for what you want to do. And once again, the motto of this talk is, if you don't remember anything, is just come talk to us and just ask us questions, because there's so much stuff here, it's impossible to get it to you in an hour. You'll need to register. There's registration stuff. You have to register in the DUNS system, the SAM system, the EIN system. You have to register to the agencies you're going to submit to. You have to enter your administrative information, get letters of support. Then, this is actually what faculty are used to. I'm used to doing the proposal. Well, there's 1 through 6, which is kind of, for a lot of faculty, foreign territory. So we help with a lot of that. And then lastly is establishing, submitting budgets. So like 7 and 8 are what I think a lot of faculty are used to in the grant process. I think this registration stuff is like, what? Well, I have to do what? And just for full disclosure, this is a lot of what university and their grant office does. They're registered. They do all the registrations. They do all the submittals of all that stuff. And so those are the things that I think kill a lot of faculty when they're like, I don't want to do this, forget this. And that's why we've kind of filled the gap here, because we saw a lot of great ideas kind of hit the wayside because we had faculty that didn't want to go through the process. And you know what? We don't blame you. It's a pain. So the first thing is to establish the team. We talked about the difference between SBIRs and STTRs, but a good example is like Dr. Hebert. Dr. Hebert had years worth of dietary information. He wanted to make a product for it. He had no idea what he wanted to do. He's thinking like a phone app or maybe like a website that would catalog the inflammation index and let people type in their food and their meals, and they could manage their inflammation profile or wanting to eat healthier. And so that was what he kind of came to the table with. And he had all this research and all this stuff, and so we hooked him up with Tyler. And Tyler said, well, if you want to do a website or an app, then we need to find an app company to be a partner on the grant. So in our incubator, we had an app company, and we made the app company a part of the grant. And then Tyler found another lady that was in Maryland who had actually been on Oprah, who had sold, and that's what Tyler does. He's a stalker. He finds all these people and just tracks them down. But he found this lady, Monica, who actually had a blog and a dietary app called the F3 Tracker, which was based on inflammation. And she had been on Oprah and had been highlighted out there. And so he found her and made her part of the team. And then so now this research had a partner that could make the app, but also had somebody who'd been in the marketplace and understood the dietary and food marketplace, because that's just a weird marketplace. The dietary marketplace is just flooded with stuff. So we did all that, and that was the team. And then Tyler became kind of the business guy to help be part of that team as well. And he wrote himself into the grant, which I'm like, no problem, please do that. And so, because when the people review it, they want to see you have a complete team. They want to see not only that your technology and your plan can get to market, but that your team has people that can get it to market as well. And so I think that's one of the reasons Dr. Hebert was successful, is Tyler went out and grabbed those people. We do that for you guys. You might come to us and say, I've got a patent and an idea, and that's it. I have no idea. And so we'll flesh that out. And so the biggest thing, once again, strong PI is critical. Credentials, publications, a proven track record is meaningful. Good innovative science with some significant work to be done. Typically, some type of technical barrier to overcome. I won't say it's a must, but you need to have something that you're using the money to solve, or something that helps you get to market. One of the things we've really done in these grants, which I think has been pretty powerful, is we've used customer discovery. We've actually listed the technical barrier as customer discovery. We have an idea. What we really need to do is use this money to go test the market. And the agencies love that. They love it because we're actually doing the real work instead of just funding laboratory science. Strong team is important, both internal and external. If you have people that are in the industry that are waiting, that are saying, hey, we're waiting for this, please, we'll try it out, we'll beta it, great. And we do that too. We get people, we'll connect you with people in the industry that can help test your product or be kind of a landing pad. The agencies love that. Once again, they want to see that you're laying a railway to the marketplace. Identify the topic. Most agencies issue one solicitation annually. DoD exceptions are these guys. And you basically go through and search solicitations. It's like doing a Google search. You can use SBIR.gov as one, Zen.gov, Grants.gov. And a lot of times what I tell faculty to do is, hey, look at past awards and see, have they funded something that looks like what you're doing, and how long ago was that? And are they continuing to fund in that area? And a lot of these grants and these templates give you ideas for how you can apply, or what gaps you fill, or what's their funding history. So all this data is out there. This site's a great site, SBIR Gateway. These are the solicitation dates. So you typically want to organize your efforts and your stuff around that. Most people, when they come to us, they're like 2 months away from the date, and they can't do it. And we basically say, let's bust it and just see how far we can get. And then typically we miss the first date, and then the next date we're ready. And a lot of times, most of the time, they don't get the first one. So then we're busting it to get resubmit, because now you've got the feedback from the agency on your first one. But these are the dates to let you know how everything goes. Big days, our big months for us are August and December. A lot of them seem to hit in December. A lot of them seem to hit in August because they're just hell-bent on ruining all holidays and summer vacations. But that's a whole other talk I do. If you want to do LLCs, secretaryofstate.sc.gov is the website there. You can go and it's called Articles of Organization. Once again, I have sat in a faculty member's office, and in 15 minutes we've created his LLC. And I did his tax return. Just kidding. So, and then if you want to do a C Corp, S Corp, we actually have people through like SCLaunch and other attorneys with the Incubator that are willing to help you do that as well. And we walk you through why you need to do that. You're registering with Dunn's SAM EIN number. We will sit with you and hold your hand while you do that if you want us to. It's really kind of methodical and just kind of grunt work, but getting that done. And I'll tell you, you got to give yourself time for this. 4 or 5 weeks is a gracious plenty, but you don't like EIN number, you get that right away. The SAM number, you do not get that right away. Like, it takes time. And so, like, if you got 3 weeks to do submission and you don't have a SAM number and you haven't formed your LLC, you're dead, because your SAM number will not come back. You will not have your SAM number back before you need to submit, and you got to have that number to submit to the agency. Dunn's number, you get that pretty quick, and that's the Dunn's process. You can read about that. That's what the screen looks like. On the website, on the grants.gov website, it actually has a nice, and I think that link is here. That's kind of the pathway, which is this screen, which I just cut and pasted. That actually gives you the steps for how to do all this stuff, and it's really just walking through and cookbooking it. Register the company on the agency's website. So then once you do that, you have to create your grants.gov username password. Please write that down. We've had faculty, we have people who they create all this stuff, and you create like 20 passwords, and then they get done and they're like, I can't find that password, and we're trying to submit, and it's just like, it's a nightmare. So just, please, I almost need to make a form for like just passwords, because you just start creating all this stuff. And so then you basically have to have a POC. Their point of contact has to authorize the roles. And then you have to do track role request. You have to do an AOR, which is the representative of the company. I mean, there's all this. It's just a pain. And we work with you through that, because we've been there, done that. Then you're getting letter of support and partners. We will always give you letters of support. If you're doing an SBIR or STTR, please say, Chad, give me a letter of support. I've got a template. And all you do is you plug in your solicitation number, plug in the right name, and then I just sign it away. And I'll say, we will license it. We're happy to partner. We're excited. We'll support you. We love you, love you, love you, hugs and kisses forever. And they love that, So we do that all the time. We also can help you go get letters from other people. So if, the consultant, if we have consultants that you're bringing in, or future employees or commercial partners or end users, those are all really good letters of support to get. Once again, remember, you're telling the story from where it is to the market. Then you submit your proposal. Content and form does depend on the agency. You want to talk about a product. You want to be talking about a product or process that will make a technical or economic impact. So like Dr. Hebert's stuff, his stuff wasn't even patented. He published it. It was out there for God and everybody to see. So what was he really talking about? It was really this product that was going to make an economic or health impact, because it was going to help change the way people eat in their diets. Not me personally. I still get the fried chicken with extra skin, but I'm a work in progress. But the thing about it is that it doesn't have to always be a patent. It doesn't have to be hard science. It can be methodologies. It can be trainings. It can be, we've had stuff come out of public health or social work, where it's been stuff to programs to developing commercial programs to prevent teen pregnancy. So you want to maintain a product focus. You need to have a specific commercialization strategy with clear and measurable milestones, and you need to kind of beat that drum throughout the proposal. Product aims, not research aims. And you need to have an action plan for developing the technology, much more so than an overly detailed mechanistic proposal of how it works or will work. So not an RO1. And then having one with a reasonable economic and deliverable scope. The biggest problem we have with faculty is getting you guys to focus and do like 2 or 3 things rather than 20. It's not your laundry list or wish list for your technology. It's, hey, what are the 3 things we do? If we can do that, we can make a product. And when we talk about a product, we're talking about minimum viable prototype. We're not talking about, this thing with all the 150 features. Typically, we focus on 2 to 3 features that can deliver and add value, and we beat you up on that. And we have a process to do that. That involves baseball bats and bars of soap and socks. You need to have a well-written, clear, concise proposal. As you heard from the back, it was a 6-page proposal, which for a lot of faculty, that's excruciating. They're like, how do I fit everything I know into 6 pages? Well, that's a lot of what SBIR STTR looks like. I like this quote: bad ideas will not win awards because of good grantsmanship, but good ideas do lose because of bad grantsmanship. And when I say grantsmanship, I'm talking about SBIR and STTR grantsmanship for the agency. I'm not necessarily, you might have a RO1 you got that they loved, but that will not work in SBIR land typically. Budgets, some highlights there is, you have your directs, your indirects, you have restrictions and unallowables. You do have this 7% fee or profit, which basically creates kind of a slush fund. You still can't use it to buy illegal stuff, like don't buy your Jaguar or your gold-plated Apple computer. Oh, sorry. And the biggest thing is contact the agency on what your budget needs to look like. Tyler has a lot of knowledge about what agencies like in budgets and what they don't like in the budgets and what you can use your profit for, what you can't use your profit for. But that actually helps provide a little bit of slush fund for people. They pay IP costs with that. They pay licensing costs with that, things like that. But those are just questions we get down the road. Here, once again, here's where you find the open grant solicitations. Here's some overview. Here's some getting started stuff. This is where you can find a website for Secretary of State, your DUNS, your EIN. A lot of this is repeated. Just so I can tell you when you call me, it's in there twice. That's the only reason it's in there twice. Just kidding. So when you think about us and what we do, if you need research space, we can get you access to wet lab space. We also have facility use agreements that'll let you use your own lab in the grant. So like if you have your own lab and we don't have space over there, but you can use your own lab for company work, we have agreements and legal stuff to help you set that up. If you need a business plan, we have the incubator that we do business planning out of, and then we also have our SBIR STTR consultants like Tyler. You don't typically need a business plan, a full business plan, but we help you with that strategy and planning. Do you need partnering agreements or subcontracts or legal stuff? That's what we do. We provide that a lot of times. If you need a source of outside funding, there is a Phase 0 program. And we encourage people to apply for that. So Phase 0, you can go get $6,000. All you have to do is have a Phase 1 identified that you want to go after. And that's $6,000 to help you fund preparing for the grant. So you can hire consultants with it. You can buy supplies. You can do travel or whatever. They do have restrictions on how much of that budget can be used for what categories. So you have to talk to them about that. But we encourage people to do that. And that's a great program. If you need prototype development money in addition to your Phase 1 or your SBIR, or you need matching, SCLaunch has a matching program where you can actually get match funding above and beyond your Phase 1 up to $50,000. They also provide prototype of $25,000 to help you develop prototypes. You've kind of heard, I have that in there twice. So just examples, SCT was a company, they got $5 to $7 million of SBIRs. And now they're like one of the biggest employers in the, they were featured in Commerce as they have 180 employees that are making $60,000, $70,000 average salary because they're all PhDs. NITEC is another one, which has had gotten $4 million of funding to develop their aluminum gallium nitride stuff for LED work. We have ABER right here, $1.6 million, got a fast track. MAGA symbol's another one out of physics. They got $150,000 Phase 1. And hopefully we'll have some other stories developing in this room today after that. But we have had success, and I believe what we're doing works. We're not perfect. I'll say SBIR and this stuff is not for everybody. It might not be a fit for you, but but for some people that it is a fit, we are there to help you kind of get down the road and answer all your questions. we're very happy, and we have take a lot of pride in our ability to help companies get SBIR money and SCLaunch money, as well as the awards. And so this is not trivial amounts of money or trivial efforts. So that's all I got, and I think I've saved about 5 seconds for questions. No, I think we have about 5 minutes, but I know that was fire hose, and I've killed you, and I'm sorry, I apologize, but this is exciting to me. This really provides, I've seen a lot of great stuff come out of this. I've seen a lot of faculty come into this program and let it stretch them and kind of take them to a different level. And I'm not going to say that that's a better or worse level than where they are. It's just the level that I understand. But, the thing that we are excited about is we see this as a real opportunity to help get it's another vehicle to help get technologies out of the laboratory and into the marketplace, or out of your head and into the marketplace. So I'll stop there and just say, look, the biggest thing you can do is just call me, reach out to our office. What we typically do is we like to come and sit down with you about an hour, have a phone call, and just see if there's something we can do and how do we get down the road. And we try to be there every step of the way to help you. So I'll stop there. So I'll give you the good lawyer answer. The good lawyer answer is it depends. And so it really depends on the agency. It depends on how quickly you get your paperwork back to them. So I've seen people that, and here's the other thing too, you might have in your grant that you're going to start June 1st, and you're going to call them up, and they might not even tell you that you've won the award till September. So obviously, just that will pushes everything out. And I would say I've seen awards delay 4 to 6 months, especially when they had the federal government shut down and restart up and re-shut down in 2008. I mean, it was really kind of dicey because the agencies were literally saying, we don't even know if we have the money. So I will tell people, SBIR, STTR money it's not money. It's not the thing to go after if you absolutely have to have the money in 5 months. If you have to, you're dead. If you've hired people and they're waiting and you're waiting for that check to roll in, you need to be careful, because I've seen people get really burned in that. And I've actually seen people where they actually knew they were going to win, and the money didn't even get released. So they knew they'd won, and they just started spending money. And then the money came in, and they were already done. When the money came in, they were like, yeah, but we've already spent it all. So they just basically distributed. But that's a great point, Jim. And you really got to be careful, because I've seen it, and this is where the businesses, people that have established businesses that bank on this money, you can really get hamstrung. And the agencies, they kind of they do what the federal government does, right? We're doing the best we can. And so you just have to be aware of that. I think it depends. So I think some of them you might get the straight distribution. I think other ones, they might distribute it per your budget, and you might get allocations. And I think it's different with the agencies. You really are, even though it's one program, every agency has just a little bit different personality in how they do stuff. Yeah, I would say it's safe to say that. And another point to that is if you go after SCLaunch matching money. SCLaunch matching money, we've had guys they've been 6 months done with their SBIR, and they still hadn't gotten their matching money from SCLaunch. So the SCLaunch money is not even timely when it needs to be too. And the problem with that is a lot of people count on that money to be part of the main budget. And so we have that issue too. And there's some stuff, SCLaunches or SCRA is going through a little bit of change right now. So that's one of our beefs with them is look, we don't care what your criteria are. We don't care, but we need to figure out a way to make this more real time. The other thing that SCLaunch does that bothers me immensely is they started this phase 1 matching program, which in my mind says if anybody gets a phase 1, as long as they've got money, and they do run out of money. They have a budget amount they run out every year, but my thing was always hey, if anybody gets a phase 1 and there's money in the bank, they should match it. Well, SCLaunch also has started this habit of where they actually look at the SBIRs, they look at the technology, and they say, well, does this fit in our technology areas that we focus on? And so that's a problem too. And I'm going to tell you, like, it's frustrating. It's frustrating for us, and that's why we've stepped in, because there's so many moving parts, and it's just easy for it's easy for everybody to get in the ditch. So it'll be something where, you really need to be patient and manage your expectations. And, most of the time, I'm not going to say I've seen it all, but I've seen a lot. Dr. Hebert's a perfect example. He wanted his match money. He calls up SCLaunch, goes and meets with them, and they say, well, this is not in our funding. This is not in our funding criteria. And and he, and Dr. Hebert, he's not willing to hear that. He's never willing to hear no. So I just said, and I did. He called me and he's like, what should I do? And I said, you know what? You have my permission to make as much noise and just call whoever you want to. And you know what? He did. And sure enough, the chairman of SCRA told the launch board, you better find a way to fund this guy. And he got it. So, I'm not going to say that's the best way to do it every time, but I'm just going to tell you that there's a lot of the process it's tricky. But it's not, it's money that's out there, but you got to work for it, and you got to stick with it, and you got to kind of bear down. And you're going to have a lot of phone calls with me where I'm going to be like, I made the phone call. We can go out there with, I've got pitchforks and I got torches, and we can go circle their house to get the money. Because sometimes it literally takes that. But as far that's for like match money and support money that's out there. For the mainline federal agency money, we typically don't have problems with that once you get award. But we're working on that. And one of the things that we do too, just to kind of give you another an idea of the role we play, is we're always advocating to get more of that money available. Like, we're actually talking to Commerce right now to push for getting money on the Commerce side to match, in addition to SCLaunch side. To just create more money and more investment. Other states that do SBIRs really well, they actually have not only phase 1 matching, they have phase 2 matching. So, and we like that because it helps give those companies some more kind of runway to develop their technology. That's just ballpark. Some phase 1s could be 12 months, some could be 18. The budgets could be some phase 1s are 100,000, some are 300, 400,000. It really depends. Honestly, I've seen them come out with criteria, and I've seen faculty and people that know how to craft proposals, and they'll craft a proposal there's no way it can be done in a year, and so they walk away. The criteria might say $150,000 for a year, and the faculty will walk away with $400,000 for a year and a half. That being said, phase 1s do not go and typically do not last beyond a year and a half. Like, they're not interested in seeing phase 1s last 5 or 6 years, nor phase 2s. But they work with you on the scheduling. So, but it's like any other grant. But and I do think that's a fallacy of their design, because I just don't think, especially in an academic setting, with the way we put that together, 6 months is. You can't even figure out where you want to go eat lunch in 6 months sometimes. Any other questions? Has this been helpful? Does this, I always kind of try to test the room a little bit. I know it's a lot of information, but I just wanted to what I really want to what you leave today with is understanding that, number one, just call us. And number two, there's a whole heck of a lot of stuff you got to check off. And even as thorough as I felt like I might have been today, there's still stuff I missed. There is thank you. And so in April 22nd, maybe, in the upstate, there's a SBIR roadshow where the agencies will come. And that's a chance for you to go and learn more about SBIRs. We'll be there talking about what we're doing, and some agency heads will be there for you to talk to and interface with. I will tell you, we're an EP score state, which basically means we're an underperforming SBIR state in terms of in terms of the 50 states. And so the EP score program and the SBA, they hammer us all the time to say, how do we support you guys more? So the roadshow is actually an effort on their part to help kind of facilitate more of this. And we do this kind of stuff. I do this kind of stuff, and our team does this probably 10 to 12 times a year.
We want to thank you for doing it for us. Very informative. I feel like we've gone around the world.
The last plug I'll say too is we'll have Tyler come in at least twice a year. He does a 4-hour SBIR workshop, and we do it out of our incubator, and we'll make sure and get that on the list. And so like Dr. Abear, that's how he got in. As he came in, he sent somebody or was in one of those 4-hour things. And Tyler, even in the 4-hour thing, Tyler works on developing your story, find an agency and stuff like that. So we try to be as hands-on as possible. So.